Hey, welcome to the Silverfox Hustle podcast with me, your host Shasi. This is episode 17, and congrats to Nazif Ahmad if you're listening in for correctly guessing the guest for this episode. Now, he guessed it by watching the YouTube video of V. Sundaramurthy's goal that I put up on Facebook. His goal, that bicycle kick goal, way back against Brunei. In my view, the best goal ever scored in the old National Stadium. So, well done, Nazif. You'll be getting your Silverfox Hustle face mask very soon. It's coming your way. Now, my guest today was definitely involved in that game. Someone who has been in the entertainment business since he was 16. Many will know my guest as a presenter and commentator. So it's a combination of the voice and the presence in front of the camera. Now, his work includes 6 Olympic Games, 13 SEA Games, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 Asian Games, 4 Swimming World Championships, and of course, commentary for the Malaysia Cup, K-League, J-League, Asian Champions League, La Liga and Serie A. And believe it or not, he has done over 1,000 comms in total over the different sports. Now, he was also a radio DJ with the Perfect 10. It was called the Perfect 10 then. And now it's obviously for the younger listeners, it's 98.7, Class 95 and Gold FM as well. He was also a program director with them, 98.7, and 3 years, I think, from 2005. Now, during his time as a DJ, he was also voted twice as Best Radio DJ in Singapore. Now, he is also an actor, director, and playwright, winning Art Nation's Best Actor Award in his role in the play Bent. It can go on and on and on. Now, but apart from all that, seriously, his work behind the scenes has been exemplary. His work includes grooming radio DJs, grooming presenters, and his products are now 2 TV personalities and at least 10 full-time hosts. He was also instrumental in the 2010 YOG and 2015 SEA Games, being the creative director. We'll be talking about that later on. Now, he is the team lead of Team Singapore. We will speak about his role there as well. Now, that was really a mouthful. Welcome to the Silverfox Hustle podcast. My guest, Mark Richmond.
Thank you, Silverfox. Thank you, Shasi. I always wanted to know what does, you always have a hashtag, big bad moo. Is that?
Okay. I can't really share that because it's it's a little bit expletive.
Oh, all right, okay.
All right. Oh, thanks for asking me.
Yeah.
Okay, I will share that with you. Now, right from the start, right, I've got to ask you this. You know the expression, a jack of all trades, master of none. I got to say, right, you are a master of all the trades that you've been involved in, right? How do you do that, Mark?
Well, actually, I don't. I mean, maybe it's because in my own heart, I don't think I'm a master of any of it. Yeah. And I've always been worried about the phrase "jack of all trades" because there's always something that comes after that, right? The master of none. So because of that, halfway through my career, I was like saying, I need to be at least a master of one, you know. Okay. And so I decided to shed everything else and just really focus on the sporting aspect of it, the football commentary, the swimming commentaries. And we've done some matches together. Yes. We've had a lot of fun together inside the studio. Even a boring match, right? At least, you know, I mean, we were commentating on some Laos versus last Suzuki Cup, Laos versus Cambodia thing and all that kind of stuff. But at least, you know, there's someone there to bounce things off. Right. So I always enjoyed that the most, and I decided to become a master of that. But I like what I said, I don't think that I was a master of all. I came close to being that, but I didn't, you know, it moved on. I just moved on, and it's an ADHD thing, I think.
ADHD. And also you're being humble, because you've been a master at everywhere you've been to, right? And we'll talk about all the stuff that you've been doing. At least we try, because I got to say, a disclaimer, right, to listeners as well. I think I'll be doing a disservice, an injustice, because of all the work that you've done. I think I would need like 4 or 5 hours of this podcast, right? Now, just a fast one. Growing up, how was it for you, Mark?
I had a very good childhood. I mean, I really enjoyed myself. I think everybody knew who my dad was. Yeah. But my real hero growing up was actually my mom, because my mom was one of those who really took a lot of no-nonsense approach and sort of. She was the disciplinarian of the house. My dad, for me, of course, hero status was always there, and I used to, go out and watch him do shows at the functions and all that kind of stuff. And because I was very fortunate, because he had a studio in his house. I was
Okay.
exposed to records,
Ah,
learning
okay.
how to play records,
Okay.
and when he's not around, I'll start doing it because Dad never wanted me to be in the industry.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Okay,
so he was like,
okay.
no, hey, don't step into it. And I can understand why. Being a parent myself,
Right,
one of the
right.
reasons why I've retired as well is because I don't want to see my son watching me become a DJ or become something like that. So I think that I was very fortunate in that sense, and then things just went through from there because it developed a lot of passion in me. I think that's
Okay.
more than anything else. It developed passion in me. It developed passion for music, passion for sports.
Great.
So those two things have stayed with me for the rest of my life.
Right, and you are close to both sports and music as well. Growing up as well, dad DJ, listening to music and stuff, and of course the sports. But did you play any sports, football?
Yeah, I mean, the most I got, I mean, I wasn't really like up to your standard or anything
Nah,
like
come
that. No, seriously. The highest I got was just the national juniors. That's about
Okay,
it.
okay,
I was teammates with the likes of Stephen, Nasri, and
Okay.
Amos.
Okay.
That batch of people. So that was the highest that I went into, and I think that a lot of it was down also to the fact that I discovered football commentaries and DJing a little bit too early in my life. So because of that, right, suddenly it's like, between football where you only have like 3 spectators, and then it's like, but you're DJing and every chick's coming out to talk to you. I'll go for the chicks.
So that's the reason why you got into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
I go for
okay.
the chicks. I go for
Right.
that sort of thing.
Right.
And then commentary, it was just very lucky. I was just at the National Stadium one day. I had already auditioned for then SBC as a commentator and all that kind of stuff. And basically, they knew who I was, but they had to keep quiet because they didn't want my dad to know that I auditioned.
But you did this on the quiet.
Yeah,
Right.
all on the quiet, because he worked at night, so he wouldn't be able to
Okay.
watch it. So, and then one day the commentator didn't show up at the National Stadium, and then I was watching the game between Singapore and
Okay.
Kelantan, right?
Okay.
They're saying, hey,
Which year was this?
1987.
Right.
Yeah, so they said, hey, I'll put on the headphones. Okay, you're supposed to commentate. It's here's the lineup. I was like, oh damn, that was the worst game ever, bro. It's like, no, seriously, it was like a golf commentary, It's like, shh, he's gonna have a shot at goal. Yeah, nice shot. It's like, and then silence. And my
Okay,
co-commentator
okay.
was new as well.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Bertrand Bartlett.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's right. Bless his soul. It's a really great guy. But we were both looking at each other like, what are we gonna do next? We don't know what we're gonna do
Right,
next. So
right.
it was. I felt sorry for the people watching it actually.
No, I can't believe that happened, right? Because you talk about all the preparations that you go to for one game, just
Oh,
one
yeah,
game.
yeah.
And then to do that, like, well, we're going to talk about the commentary bit after
Yeah.
that and the work that we actually put in, or
Oh,
you
yeah.
put in, right? I think that there's some good stuff to say about that as well.
Yeah.
Comparisons, like you said just now, to your dad, another legend, obviously,
Mhm.
Brian Richmond. Now, comparisons will be inevitable, right?
Yeah.
Was there any pressure? Yeah, it can be in DJing, it can be in commentary, it can be in anything, right? Was there any pressure growing up from yourself?
I think it's probably the pressure that I put in my head. That's
Right.
more than anything else. I
Right.
think people probably put pressure as well because I remember when I first started out, and like all of them were saying, actually, you can never be as good as your dad because his voice is one of a kind. You don't have the voice for it. So it was embedded in my head from a young time that I was never going to be as good as him.
By whom?
Friends around,
Right.
friends around, and other people as well.
Okay.
And you have to remember that he's a voice of a generation. He's
Yeah.
not just a voice, but it's a
Okay.
whole generation who actually believed in him and believed whatever he said. I mean, he yeah, seriously, he would tell you that he would tell you right now not to wear a mask, and they won't wear a mask. He was that sort of person. at
He's
that
an
time.
influencer.
Yeah, exactly. He was the olden day influencer. Absolutely right. So I think that that there was some pressure there. Even such that when I first got in, I was asked as well whether I wanted to change my name.
Seriously?
Yeah, so to carry on the Richmond. But I told myself that after some serious thought, I said, no, I'm going to keep the name because it's a gift to my dad at the end of the day. Because
Yeah.
if I'm good at it, and I was confident that I was going to be good at it, if I'm good at it, then people will remember Brian Richmond. They might not remember Mark Richmond per se, but they will remember Brian Richmond because I think that even during the Malaysia Cup days of the Sundrams and all that kind of stuff, people thought it was still Brian Richmond, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But they would remember Brian Richmond because of how I lived on after that. So I decided to keep
Right.
the name to actually stretch his legacy a lot more. It's
Right.
like my very own gift for my dad. But I mean, my dad and I always talk about it. And we both agreed. I'll never be as close as him in terms of being a DJ. He's a much better DJ than I am. But he also turns around and says, I'm a much better commentator than he is.
All right.
So I think we kind of like both
Great.
settled
great.
in our own skin into that, you know. Yeah.
Great. That's good to know, right?
Yeah.
Was there like a conscious effort to, like, you talk about keeping up with the legacy and stuff like that? Was there a conscious effort to say, like, no, I want to be myself. I want to be Mark. I want to be remembered like, not as Brian's son, but as Mark Richmond, the voice as well.
Yeah, of course that was. Yeah, that's a very good point you brought up. And there was that conscious effort of just like trying to just sit down there and say, okay, how different can I be from him?
Okay.
All right, he's this smooth, suave person who, like,
Right.
he sounds as if he's having a cigar all the time, right? So, okay, I can't sound as if I'm having a cigar all the time,
Okay.
even if I'm really having a cigar. So I'm sitting down there, and so I started doing these crazy things like, when I first went on to 987
Okay.
Perfect 10, I'll be rapping over the music.
Yes, I remember.
I rap the traffic news, I rap the
Right,
weather and all
right.
that kind of stuff because I used to take part in all these rapping
Okay.
competitions.
Okay.
And then even with commentaries as well, I knew that he was more of a laid back style
Okay.
and all that kind of thing, let the voice carry it through.
Yeah.
And I would just be screaming my head off like a fan, which
Okay.
I learned later on that that's not the way to go.
Okay.
But, so I did make a conscious effort to sound different.
Nice.
But when he finally got to know that I was doing it, he gave me some valuable advice on some things that was
Okay.
not supposed to be that way.
Okay.
But and in the end, he says over the last few years as well, he says without actually asking you, I took some of your energy as well into
Yes.
my own stuff as
Yes.
well. So
Nice.
yeah, I think that there was a conscious effort, but at the end of the day, halfway through, you start changing your styles through the years.
Right, right.
Yeah, to suit the occasion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Your start in radio DJ, right? Or as a radio DJ, how did that happen?
So I was playing at some disco clubs, here
Okay.
and there. Like what I said, it was like chicks, right? so from chicks, it's like, suddenly got called up by one of them to actually do a show.
Okay.
And you know that you're old when the places that you go through have gone through like 3 name changes already. SBC to TCS, RCS, and then MediaCorp. And that time was like, is it like 90.5 or something like that? Or I don't know what the station was called at that time. So it was the Cow Biore show. Yeah, I don't even know if people use Cow Biore anymore.
I think the brand still exists.
Okay, thank God. All right, something older than me. So and then it just kicked off from
Okay.
there. And then I was recruited by Rediffusion. That's another one that's like
Yes,
not around
yes,
anymore,
yes,
and I'm
yes,
still
yes.
around.
Yes.
So so it's same thing. I got lucky because of that. But basically, I think that I just took the chances, and it was always with failures because
Okay.
my first shows in everything that I've done in my life, right? My first shows were always horrible. It was like
Right.
the worst shows in the world.
It's hard to believe, but
Yeah, no, it was like the worst shows in
Okay.
the world. And then from feedback,
Yeah.
and I think from young already you start learning to gather proper feedback from people who care. And said, no, gosh, you're just a little bit, it's like you felt like it was dead, there's no color in your voice,
Okay,
there's no
okay.
excitement or anything like that. And then you start like learning to do all those things.
But just listening to you say all this, right? I mean, talking about the failures the very first time and stuff like that, it would have been so easy to just give up, right?
Yeah.
Like listen, especially when you're listening to critics and stuff, it would have been so easy to give up.
Yep.
And the fact that you just pushed on and look where you are, it's amazing, really.
I mean, it is easy to give up. I think that at the end of the
Yeah.
day, I mean, I'm not lying and saying that, the critics come in and all that kind of stuff, you don't give a damn and all that kind of stuff. No. I mean, it hurts, and until sometimes even till today, it still hurts. But the thing here is that what you need to do is that you need to rise up above it all.
Yeah.
A lot of people have always asked, since now I'm part of Sports Singapore, is that, you're a public servant now. I said, but I've been a public servant all my life. So they get puzzled. But that's what it is, because you're a public servant when you're on radio. Before you start telling your jokes and your personality
Okay.
comes out, you need to ensure that you give the traffic news, you give the weather, you
Right.
give the time. You got to ensure that people know what songs there are, the history behind the songs.
Okay.
Same thing as a commentary as well. You talked about why we do the homework. It's because people need to know the players. People
Right.
need to know what you're talking about. So
Right.
you are actually giving a service. So I've been a public servant all my life.
Right,
Yeah.
right. interest in music, right? Like obviously being a DJ. Tell us about the music that you love. I know you love Prince.
Oh, don't get me started, man. That's another 4 hours.
Yes, exactly. Tell me who your influences are, especially in music.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and you're growing up and all that kind of stuff. Look, who doesn't like Michael Jackson? Come on, Shasi.
Yes.
Come on, Shasi.
Off the wall.
Yeah, there we go. You
Yeah.
got your favorite. I've got my Thriller.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like I love music that when the singers sang or when the artists sang, right, or played an instrument, they just brought joy. And I loved people who looked as if they were enjoying themselves.
Okay.
So Michael Jackson, whenever he opens his mouth and he sings, he looks as if he's enjoying himself when he dances, right? So Prince, when he plays the guitar, he puts some like really ugly face on and all that. And I said, what the hell is this? But you know that he's on something down there. Led Zeppelin, the likes. I loved. I think if you ask me to sway towards a certain piece of music, I would say funk.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's because I loved Prince, and he introduced me to the world of like your James Browns, your Sly and the Family Stones, and all that kind of stuff. So I loved funk music growing up. I love the hip hop rap music scene as well, you know.
Okay.
So yeah, and of course we all have songs in the closet that we don't want our friends to know about, right?
Like?
Well, I mean, it's like when you're growing up, I used to think that I was going to marry Whitney Houston. So
Whitney Houston.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like but my friends were all into your Depeche Mode, and also I had to keep it, and I was like, So when they came over to my house, I had to keep the Whitney Houston records. I don't have any Whitney Houston.
Funny. Who were your mentors back then as a DJ?
I wouldn't say that I had like a particular mentor. Obviously, I mean, with Dad, without asking him for advice, just watching him. Just watching him was an art in itself already. Just watching what he does on stage and all that. I didn't even have to ask any questions. I think the DJs during that period, a lot of them, they spoke to you with a lot of warmth in their hearts, whether it was your Larry Lies or your Roger Cools and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just like, when I looked at them and I said, okay, this is what it's like. And I used to, when I first started as a DJ, put a teddy bear in front of me and pretend that he was my brother or my mom, and I used to speak to it. That was how I began improving as a DJ, because I realized that the art was actually talking to one person, and not, hey, how's everyone doing, but just how are you doing? So I basically put the teddy bear in front, start talking to it, and it carried on until like my early days in Perfect 10. Even I used to put that teddy bear in front of me and spoke to it,
Did anyone say that you're weird? Like, your fellow DJs, especially the next one coming in, the next shift, let's say, is not doing.
I'll say, look, you're looking at the next big star over down there, right? This teddy bear is going to be bigger than you, okay?
Who did you work with during that time, the 98.7 DJs?
Oh, okay. When I first went into Perfect 10, it was Bernard Lim, Aloysius Tan, Hubert Tang, Lance Alexander, Dahlia Z, Florence Lien was my boss. Wow. She was a lovely boss. I mean, still my favorite boss till today. And they were all like
names are like,
I know exactly. You remember them all of a sudden, right? It hits you like wow,
legendary.
Yeah, exactly. So really enjoyed myself there because it was 4 hours on air, but outside of it, we had so much fun as a team. We had so much fun, we're like ribbing each other, we're like pushing each other along the corridors, stealing stuff from each other, hiding stuff from each other. We had so much fun,
Do you still keep in touch with some of them?
Yeah. Aloysius and Bernard are my golfing friends until today. We still talk a lot. Florence is in Canada, so whenever I go into Canada for a holiday there, I'll visit her and her husband, who are my very close friends too.
Nice.
Of course, Lance is still around, in Channel News Asia, so I'll just speak to him once in a while. So with especially with Aloysius and Bernard, we've become like very good friends after that because we'll just sit down and recall those days and talk about stuff that we knocked over and how many parts of the building is now destroyed because of us. Those are fun times, really fun times.
Now, you voted twice as best radio DJ in Singapore.
Well, I mean, it's like I usually, these awards usually, it's for me, it's like if I get them, it's a bonus. And those awards sometimes decided by the public vote and all that kind of stuff. All right.
All the much better, isn't it?
It's like
because you are reaching out to the audiences and stuff like that.
Yes
People
and no.
listening.
Yeah, yes and no. Because I always saw it as a team effort, right? I always saw it as everybody is like So I never saw it as like I was this individual out of this whole team of Perfect 10 guys and all that kind of stuff. But those days the radio, it's the radio stars. We were treated like boy band members, man. We were like BTS, you know, during those
Even
days.
now, I think.
Yeah,
DJs, right?
yeah, but during those times, I remember that, you know, this is the reason why I left radio, actually.
Really?
This is the reason why I left radio. I remember there was one day, the two occasions, there was one day where there were like about 5 teenage girls camping outside of my house.
Stalked.
Yeah, exactly, you know, and I wasn't at home, and my brother had to open the door and greeted them in his underwear and says, "No, can you please do something about this?" So, but that wasn't the life that I wanted, you know. It was,
Wow.
it was, you know, in a while, in a way that you had people chasing after you. It was fun for a while because you got to live another life, right? Okay. But after a while, it's like not fun. And then there was another case where a lady, right, because you had to reply to some of the fan mail.
Okay.
So one of them, I mean, it's like you're late replying to it, and one of them, you know, slashed her wrist because I couldn't reply to it. And after that, it just scarred me, and I said, look, I just came here. I just wanted to give the traffic news. I just wanted to have fun. I just wanted to talk to people.
Yeah.
I just wanted to meet more people, you know. And then it ends up in this, and then I really, from there, I just took a step back, and I went into the TV side of things. But you know,
was that at Perfect 10 or?
That was at Perfect 10.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and for me, it was, you know, like what I said, I didn't sign up for that. Yeah, I didn't sign up for that. And after a while, it was like, okay, listen, I did not sign up for a celebrity life. I signed up to be, you know, a radio DJ, and this is, but you know, Florence, my boss, and then Aloysius became my boss after that, was saying, this is part of it. Yeah. And then that's when I decided to step away.
Right. It was something that we didn't know. I didn't know, and I think the listeners listening in would be surprised as well. And wow, it's really an eye opener actually.
Yeah.
Class 95 and then Gold 95 as well. You worked at the 3 different. What were the differences?
Well, you had to talk differently.
Okay.
You couldn't rap anymore on goal.
we'll get back to the rapping part, but yeah.
Class 95, I was working with Vernon A. I mean, we had so much fun as well.
Okay.
So, I mean, that was like my re-entry into radio after a long time.
All right.
Gold 90 FM, I actually did it with my dad.
Yeah,
so,
nice.
you know, yeah. That was fun for about a year, and then it didn't become fun.
Why?
Because after a while, he became a colleague. He became a teammate. He's my father. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So for me, it was like it was something deeper, and then it was such that it came to a point where, because you know, technically or technologically and all that kind of stuff, I would be a bit more savvy than him. And then everything's like, hey boy, why don't you do this, boy? Yeah, this part you do, boy. And it's like, no, boy, what year was this song?
Wait. Does he call you boy?
Yeah, he calls me boy.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
like, boy, what year was this song from? I was like, this is 1967. This is before I was born. Why don't you know it? You know, it's no, you're the music encyclopedia, so you should know. I was like, don't take it for granted, you know. So after a while, it just the tension was there.
Okay.
I didn't like it. I wanted to keep him as my father.
Right.
You know, I wanted to remember him as my father. So same thing. I stepped away, and then for a long time when I was there, I was afraid actually that he was out of style. And I felt that he needed to still be heard on radio.
Okay.
You know, being that voice of a generation and all that kind of stuff. And then I heard rumors as well that they were going to cut his contract and all that kind of stuff. So
at that time?
Okay. So when I first joined, I said, no, I'll join only if I do a show with him. Okay. So it guaranteed, you know, he came home one night and he says they just renewed my contract and all, and he was so happy and all that kind of stuff. So job 1 was done.
Right.
But halfway through, he knew about it, and then he had a hard talk with me. And he says, listen, if you're doing it for me, all right, don't. And you have my blessings. If you need to walk away and you don't like this anymore, please do not stay on for me. The moment he said that, 2 weeks later, I left. I just got out. That was my get out of jail card. And I just left the place. But, you know, and we became so much better friends, my dad and I, after that.
Closer.
Oh, a lot closer after that.
Nice.
But during that show, that period of time, you could feel some tension here and there, and I didn't like it. Yeah.
Right. He could have felt it as well, right?
I think so, probably. Yeah, he could have felt my unhappiness. Yeah.
Right. So I take it your best times in radio were with Perfect 10?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love the company there. You know, and we really enjoyed ourselves.
Okay.
Like what I said, I think that the celebrity fandom got a little bit too much for me. But outside of it, you know, we partied together. We hung out with one another very often. And there were times where we stayed until like 10, 11 o'clock at work, even though we had no work left to do. But we still stayed at work, you know, because we wanted to hang out with one another.
Were you part of the startup of Perfect 10?
No, I wasn't. I was at
okay.
Ready Fusion at that time.
Right. Because
And-
I remembered that time when it first,
Yeah.
boomed.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
right.
like, I think in primary school, and we were just waiting for the launch of this
Yeah.
great radio station and all the latest songs at that time, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, it was.
No,
I still
I
remember.
wasn't. I got lucky that Florence took over because
Right.
before that there was a previous boss, and I sent my audition tapes, and I was rejected 4 times
Wow.
at
okay.
Perfect 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I was rejected 4 times, and a
Okay.
lot of it was also the fact that hey, listen, we can't employ you because they'll think that your dad got you the application through.
Is he or she still around in the business?
Yes, she is. You know,
Okay.
so he says like, your dad's like, we can't afford this like nepotism kind of thing. I said, yeah, but he's got nothing to do with this. I'm sending you a tape from Ready Fusion, my own show, and says no.
Yeah.
So I got rejected 4 times,
Wow.
and then Florence went in one day when she first took over as boss, and then there was my tape lying around there,
Okay.
and she decided to put my tape inside and
Yeah.
listen, and she says, wow, who's this guy? Let's give him a call
Right,
and
right.
come over and start straight away.
Okay.
So I was lucky when she first took over that it was a different boss, and the moment that she took over, right, she was open enough to say, yeah, I'll look beyond your surname and all that kind of stuff. Let's see what you can offer the station.
That should be the way anyway.
Yeah.
Just.
Well, I mean, like sometimes, like what I said, sometimes it works for you, sometimes it doesn't. So I need to remind myself that as well, right? That I can't always go with the underdog attitude that because of my surname I'm not getting anything and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Sometimes it does work for you.
Do you have to work harder then? Like.
Probably.
Yeah?
Yeah, probably. There's a conscious effort in my head to always work harder, but that's a good thing. That's the good thing.
Yeah,
that I
it
see
makes you
about
work. Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a good thing. I mean, it's like even till this day, whenever I'm doing a commentary, and I mean, look, we've seen each other's notes. It's like it's stacked full, right?
Yeah.
It's because it gives you the confidence. It's because I don't want to miss anything out.
Of
And my
course.
son's like saying, look, it's only for 2 hours work. Why are you spending 2 days on it? I said, yeah, but it's always been
Yeah.
that case.
Yeah.
The culture's inside of you already.
Yeah,
And
right.
we came from that culture where you
Yeah.
worked hard,
Yeah.
even as a footballer, and you
Yeah.
were a manager for a while as
Yeah.
well of a football club. You worked hard
Yeah.
outside of it, not during the match in itself.
Yes,
More
you're right.
outside
You're
of it.
right.
Yeah.
It's what goes on behind the scenes that people don't know.
Exactly.
The work that you put in. It can be minute details, but it is tough and hard work. We got to talk about your rapping, Mark. What is this about this rapping? How did you pick it up? Because it is a skill. Not anybody can rap. Seriously, not anybody can
I wasn't
rap.
like a super solid rapper and all that, but I had a gift for words. I had a gift for
Yeah.
insulting people.
Oh, okay.
That's where it came from. Because a lot
okay.
of rap battles are like that, right?
Okay. So,
So-
did you get into rap battles before?
Yeah, I used
Okay.
to.
Yeah.
I didn't win a lot of them.
Right,
In fact, I probably won only about 3 out of 50 in my life, something like
So
that.
it's
you
like
know?
a freestyle
Yeah, it's
kind of thing,
freestyle.
like in 8 Mile.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Except during the 80s and 90s, you're not supposed to swear that much. Nowadays, it's
Okay.
hey, go for it, swear
Yeah,
everything, So you had to be clever and all that.
Does this happen in Singapore?
No, it wasn't in Singapore. I mean, it was underground in Singapore,
Yeah?
here and there. Yeah, during the 80s and all that kind of stuff. And then it happened quite a lot in Malaysia as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So but like what I said, I wasn't one of those poets. There were
Yeah,
poets,
yeah,
but
yeah.
you actually watch them and you think, my God, this guy's really special. I was one of those that would rhyme beach with peach.
That's fine. It rhymes.
Drink with think. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that kind of-
Okay. Right. You moved on to become a program director.
Mhm.
What was that like? What was the role that comes with?
I think that a lot of it was you're looking at the overall view. I think that when it comes to a DJ, you're just looking at your 4-hour slot and how you can improve on it. But then, when it comes to program director, you're looking at it 24/7. So it's the same thing as when you become a manager in a football club, right?
Yes.
You need to study your opponents, you need
Right.
to study the DJs, you need to study each player and what each player needs and wants from you. So I decided to, there was more interactions with the DJs,
Right.
and you almost take on a more mentoring
Yeah.
role as well. Says,
Yeah.
no, hey, listen, don't do this, or go
Right.
ahead and do this, push it as much as possible, and I'm here to protect you. So it's kind of like that sort of thing, which actually served me very well because it got me into
right.
the management sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Were you a hard boss on your DJs?
I wouldn't know. Some of them think I'm great, some of them don't. But I think
Okay.
that
It comes
yeah,
with the
it comes with the territory. So it's like with you,
But-
with you and you're managing. I don't think every player got along with you,
Of
right?
course. But when you it helps if you've done the job, as in you've been a DJ. Like for
Probably.
example, like a coach, it helps a little, not by a lot, if you've been a player and then become a coach and stuff like that. So your standards are a little bit up there, right?
Yeah, and that's where it doesn't help. That's where it doesn't help because
Right.
because sometimes same thing as a coach, right? If you look at some of the best players ever, Glenn Hoddle's a fine example. He expected every player to play like him, and it's
Yes.
impossible because he
Yes.
was a special player.
Yes.
So sometimes it doesn't help because you're saying, hey, you can do this, but they can't. But they have their own special way, but you're not seeing that special thing that they have. Sometimes some of them. In terms of a radio DJ, right?
Yeah.
It's just that this person can connect. That's all. But you're not looking at it. You're trying to get the best out of this person,
Right.
but you can't get anything out of it anymore. You should actually just work on the connection part, and that actually taught me a lot.
It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah,
The line, like you just now being a program director and you just trying to pick out mistakes, so to speak, right?
Correct, exactly.
It's tough. It's tough.
And you don't like doing it.
Yeah.
Because you yourself have been in a position where people tell you about your mistakes and you don't like it,
Yes, yes, of
But
course.
your job's to actually tell them their mistakes. So yeah, that's a tough part.
Which one do you prefer? Behind the mic, as in really being a DJ, or behind the scenes and trying to help the station grow?
I would say that a bit of both. I mean, it's like I like to have my own control of my own shows and all that.
Yeah.
If I get to play my own
Right.
music,
Right.
But on the other side of it, there's some people that really want to, and those that really want to, I really want to help them. So even till today, I just came off, coming here, I just came off a meeting with
Yeah.
someone who's going through an oral exam. So it's like yeah, but free of charge, I'll just sit her there. But she really wants to be a great public speaker, even though at 15. And I'm willing to help her do that, And I always, when I'm giving classes to the kids, I always tell them, you want to be a commentator? Okay, fine. It's not a glamorous job,
Yeah.
all right? And you see half of them leave. They don't come back after the first class because they're in for wrong reasons. But
Okay.
those that stay, I really do want to help them because, I mean, it's like, if they really want to, and if I can pass on anything at all to them, I'd like to.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We move on to probably the part where most listeners would know you, or you're famous for your commentary and stuff like that, right? You spoke about the very first commentary against Kelantan,
You need
Singapore
to
against
remind me, right?
1987, right?
I need to remind you.
Because I wanted to ask you how did that happen, and you already answered me, right? So that was your first match.
Yeah.
It didn't go particularly well.
No, not at
And
all.
it went out to what on channel what was it?
I think it went out. It was probably Channel 5. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had like people telling.
No, I mean they didn't know it was who it was, right?
Okay,
At that
okay.
time, so they're just
Right.
complaining.
And how old
non-stop.
were you then?
17, I think.
17?
No, 16. Yeah, that's right. So.
Seriously, right? I mean, I spoke about all this just now about the commentary part, doing your homework behind the scenes
Yeah.
and stuff like
I
that.
had no homework on that day.
If you had like an experience of maybe 2 years of work, maybe or even 10 games of commentary, maybe you can pull that off, right? You can pull that off. I
Yeah.
know of people who've been
Yeah.
who are lazy. I know of people who are lazy, who don't do their job, their homework, and then just come in there and do their job.
Yeah.
Fair enough, right?
Yeah.
If you can do that, you
And,
do that.
when we go into like major competitions and all that, we're supposed to do that. So
Yeah.
because I'm doing like 3 sports in one day.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So sometimes a commentator falls sick. Even till today, I'm supposed to slip in and do that. And you're supposed to do that.
But you can do that because
Yeah.
I'm talking about the experience, right?
Yeah.
So all the more ridiculous that you can do that at 16, and
Yeah, but-
whether it was a good job or not.
It was so silent. I
Why
should see
did
anybody.
why did you take the job? Like, why did you like say yes? Like, wow.
They put the headphones on me. What am I gonna do? Is like putting handcuffs.
Okay,
on
were you paid?
Yeah.
Okay, then fine.
I didn't know I was gonna be getting paid.
right. Okay. Who did you look up to? If you say your dad, then apart from your dad, in terms of commentary work.
I didn't really look up to a particular person.
Yeah.
I enjoyed different commentators through the years, and even when I was at home in my own backyard or at the park, and I was kicking a ball, I was commentating already, since like 10, 11 years old and all that kind of stuff. So I think that it was more that I never really looked up to anyone,
Right.
which actually helped me because it didn't make me try to follow somebody's style or
Yes.
anything like that.
Yes.
But I was, and like what I said, I got very lucky there as well because I had a chance to go overseas. I don't think my dad had a chance at that
Okay.
time because at the '93 SEA Games, the
Yeah.
guy who was directing it was a British guy.
Okay.
And then he actually took me and said, why don't you come to the UK for a while? So I went to the UK and worked with ITV. for a while and did a couple of games for them. And he said as well, he says that, you know what, listen, and I'm glad that you put on 2 different commentaries of mine on your Facebook post, because it sounded so different from those years.
Yeah, I wanted to,
because he was saying that you sound like an uncontrolled banshee. That's what it is. You're just screaming and shouting. You're like a fan, all right?
Okay.
Which people might love you for it and accept you for it because they're also part of the fever. They're part of this Malaysia Cup fever or what have you. They love the football fever in Singapore, so you're on board, But what happens if you're supposed to do a neutral game that doesn't involve Singapore? Have you done it before? No. So so what are you going to do? So basically that training actually taught me that, okay, there's an American style, I need to adapt to that. There's a British style, I need to adapt to that. And then through the years also, okay, listen, don't lose the plot so much, hold it back a little bit, and then bring in your other commentators as well, be a bit more generous with your time. So I think that, it helped me a lot in terms of my commentary, because I'm not just going to be screaming my head off like what I used to do at the Malaysia Cup days. I mean, I listen to the Malaysia Cup days now when I commentary, when people send it and all that. I get very embarrassed by it. I know people love it.
Why?
But
it's fine.
Yeah, I know. It's because you're just screaming your head off. But there wasn't any you're just screaming players' names and all. So you were like a fan.
Right.
But I'm not supposed to be a fan.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
So. But that's important, isn't it? Like the learning part, like what you said. There's a British way, the US way of doing things, the American way. It's. I wish I had that, right? Like if somebody told me, like, maybe you should tone this down a little bit. So that's a very interesting thing. And again, I was just like you as well, right? Like the commentary part when you were playing at the void deck, you used to commentate, right? It was fun,
right?
Yeah, in your head and stuff like that. So that's, my favorite was John Motson.
Oh, all right, okay, John Motson, from the 1980s, 1990s,
legendary.
That's right.
Now we go up to the part about the behind-the-scenes work for commentary, right? Now, tell us about the research that you do, because I've seen your book, your notebook or whatever it is called, right? Which nobody else can read but yourself. Tell me about that and the work that goes into it. I think people need to know that.
Yeah,
as well.
I think that that's exactly what you just touched on the fact. It's what people need to know. And for every little ounce of instructions or little ounce of information that I can find, I think I'm doing justice to a player, even right down to the fact that I'm pronouncing his name or her name the right way. That it needs to be done, because their parents gave them the name. I think that I need to respect the parents in that sense. When it comes to the homework, when I first started, we didn't have the access of the internet. All right,
Okay.
During those days, you really had to read up and come up with your own terms and all that kind of stuff. But now there's no excuse. That's like the internet,
of course.
right? And then there's Wikipedia, of which a lot of people find their information from. So I could use that, but then again, what fun is that?
Yeah.
All right, I could use that just for maybe age or whatever it is and all that. But I need to dive deeper. So I'll just go into stats. I'll go into different websites to see what he did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and then right down to even strikers. When was the last time he scored a hat-trick? Has he even scored a hat-trick in these colors and all that kind of stuff, just in case he scores a hat-trick? So everything that I've done is a just-in-case scenario.
Okay.
It's never been about, for the now. It might be, okay, if he scores this, if he does that, and if the team scores this, what will it be and all that kind of stuff.
Just sorry to cut you short there. That's a big if, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big if.
That's a big if, right? Okay.
So like what we talked about it as well. I remember we spoke about it during the Asian Champions League final between Kashima Antlers and Persepolis, because it was a 0-0 draw and we were both like bored out of our minds. And it's like, and after that I was like telling you I'm using 90% of the homework, which is hardly the case. And you yourself said,
true.
Usually if you use 10%, that's a great football match, right? So I think that I think people need to know, and you need to chart milestones as a favor, not just for the player. You need to do the player a favor. You need to do the club a favor. And then you need to do the public a favor by letting them know about it, in case one of them might actually fall in love with this team. I would want them to fall in love with a Kashima Antlers or Urawa Reds or whatever it is, So if they hear you and say, wow, I love the history of this club, let me go and read a little bit more about it, I think your job's done. I remember the 2014 Asian Games.
Right.
After Joe Schooling won his gold medal in the 100 meters butterfly. It was the first Singaporean in 32 years to do it. And then, people went crazy and thought that he was going to win the 50 meters butterfly. And I came up with a what if he doesn't win, because in the 50 meters race, it's touch and go, it's 50-50, right? So he lost. Right. And people are like, before they started screaming, when he stood on the podium, I took my note out and I said, Joe Schooling has become the first person ever in Asian Games history to win a medal in all butterfly races. And all of a sudden, it became a positive thing.
Wow.
His loss became... So I think we have that responsibility to make a defeat sound like a positive thing as
The
well.
responsibility and the power as well to do it, to change people's views about certain things.
Because I think it'll be unfair, with what the boy has achieved, in terms of the first in 32 years, to actually for him to go out and saying that, oh, you went out a silver medalist. No, he went out a gold medalist. He went out a big star.
Yeah, it's amazing because listening to you speak about all this, it's not a job. It is not a job.
Yeah.
It is something that you want to give, the extras.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when somebody signs you up as a commentator, you call the game, right?
Yeah,
that's basically the basic thing that you need to put out. But this is not a job for you. It's amazing. It's great to know that as well, because you said the words, those words like doing justice for the player, individual players, right? Now, just going back to that, because I've worked with you for quite a good number of games, right?
A good number of years.
Yeah, and I noticed this. You have this ability to relate something in a game and then relate that back to freaking 5 years, 6 years back, what he did. Like, for example, if this guy scores a hat-trick, you suddenly come up with the last time somebody scored a hat-trick in this game was way back in 5 years ago in this game and this game. What is that? Is that pure memory, or is just based on...
I think it's...
What's that?
I think sometimes it's the matches that you kind of remember. And
wow.
And
then you must remember like a lot of games. It's amazing, seriously, Mark. Because I noticed this.
It's not just that, but also sometimes because if you start charting milestones, you start remembering the milestones. And when you read on every individual, like if I'm given a match and 25 players on the roster, I read about all 25 players.
Right.
So even if I'm not taking notes on them, I read on all 25 players and I kind of absorb it. I can kind of become a coach as well in the team. What am I going to tell these players? And blah, blah, blah,
you're just like a Pep Guardiola of commentary.
No.
You're crazy like that.
I am crazy. I am totally crazy.
There you go. You said it.
Yeah, I'm absolutely crazy about it. And until today, it's like I'm always finding ways to improve on it. And I think that it's also the certain phrases that you use and all that kind of stuff to relate it to a normal day in life. And the thing about it is that it just comes out of your mouth. You know what? And sometimes you don't know what you're saying, but people remind you of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not wrong. You are crazy like that.
Yeah, I am crazy. Because I remember at the 2017 SEA Games there was a complaint, right? I think it was Iksan jumped up for a header.
Okay.
And when he jumped up for the header, and he was hanging in the air forever. He was so good in the air, right? And I just said, oh, he jumped so high, he almost touched Jesus. And I said it. He almost high-fived Jesus. And I didn't even know it until everything's over and they said there's a complaint. I said, did I say it? And he's like, I said, yeah, you did.
Okay.
And then he went back. And I was like, oh, what's wrong with that? Like saying that, don't use... I said, yeah, but it just comes out naturally.
Yeah, it comes out. It comes out naturally.
So sometimes I need to... these are the things that I still need to learn. That, you need to control yourself with... You need to have control in the uncontrollable.
But it's sometimes better to come out naturally rather than being tongue-tied, right? Sometimes you get stuck like that stuff. It's amazing, right? And you talk about the preparations. I think it's doing more than like you said, it's a big if for everything. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I go into not a game. Sometimes I used to do punditry as well, and then I used to do lots of research, but you only use you only use 1 or 2 out of the 20 that you've done, right? So but we are like that.
Yeah, correct, exactly.
We are just like that.
And it's the same thing that we spoke about before. That's the reason why we love sports.
Yeah,
because we can actually rehearse it in our head the night before. We're like an athlete as well, right? We rehearse it. If this person scores, I'm going to say this and that and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to mention this and that. And the person doesn't score. All right? Even though he scored 5 games in a row, but the match you're doing, he doesn't score. But it's life. And that's a thing that you need to adjust on about. And this is where... I'm always very grateful and lucky if I have someone like you by my side, because if the match turns a little sour and you're done, you can have a conversation.
Right.
And it's powerful. The difference between 2 on the mic on a commentary game and 1 is a huge difference.
Right. Yeah. Speaking about commentary, right? You had the privilege of commentating in some big games, big football matches, right? In this region, Malaysia Cup, SEA Games, and what have you. Now, talk us through all these, just a short one. Sundram's bicycle kick goal.
Oh, You agree with you on that. The best goal that I've ever seen
Right.
at the National Stadium, right? It just came out of the blue, and it just told me everything about Sundramoorthy. That that guy is just instinctive.
Yeah.
You can't teach those things.
Right.
And like what I said, it's like watching a Prince or Michael Jackson enjoying themselves when Sundram's on the ball and he's enjoying himself, when he wants to enjoy himself.
Yeah.
I love watching these talents who enjoy
Right.
themselves.
Great. 1994 Malaysia Cup final. Where you were screaming? Were you screaming then? Not really.
I was screaming a lot, yeah. Only thing I remember about it, I couldn't really remember about the game. Only thing I remember is that somebody face painted me with Singapore colours and I was told
Right.
to take it off before the start of it. So
Oh,
when I
okay.
first went on TV, my face was absolutely pink.
Right.
Because red
Okay.
and white colours, right, when you rub it off, it became
Okay.
pink. That's all I remember.
Right. I also remembered you doing the interviews after the game, right?
Yeah,
You had
that's right.
Abbas and
Yeah,
all this.
yeah.
How was that? It was amazing.
Oh,
feeling.
yeah, I mean, it was amazing. It's always great to interview players when they're at the, high.
When they won.
Yeah, when they won and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
They say very little, but just the expression on their faces and their voices tell you the whole story. I think those are priceless interviews. Yeah.
Okay. This could be tough, right? Your favorite football match you've commentated on?
Yeah, it is tough. I don't have a particular one because if I'm going to go through my head, it's I have one of my favorite sporting moments, not football,
Okay.
but I mean, if I have to go through my head, it's very very tough.
Right.
Yeah.
The most difficult match you commentated on?
That's also very tough because there have been a few.
Yeah,
There have been
okay.
some very trying ones.
Right.
Okay. I can't pinpoint anything because everything is different. And
Boring one?
Huh? Yeah, even the boring ones because you've read up on it, right? So it doesn't become that boring after all. Because you kind of when you read up on it, the
Right.
players become almost like your brothers or sisters,
The most pressure you face going to a match commentating, is there any?
Every match, I feel so much pressure every match. I just
Wow.
feel as if I need to do something, and I love matches where we've done these matches
Yeah.
before, right, on Fox Sports, where this is over and the next match comes on straight away. You
Yeah.
have no time to actually prep it. I love those matches only because I don't feel the pressure. But if I'm waiting,
Oh, of course, yeah.
I almost feel as if I'm a player or a coach.
Yeah, okay.
Even like swim meets.
You're right.
Yeah. So
You just want the show to go on.
yeah,
That's it.
exactly.
You don't want you hate the waiting.
Yeah, and I'm nervous over my opening lines. And that's the reason why I still do it. It's because I still get nervous, very nervous.
Right.
Yeah.
Any favorite moment?
I would say my favorite moment, probably 2011 SEA Games. I commentated on Joseph Schooling in the 200
Right.
meters butterfly.
Right.
And he was this like 14 or 15-year-old boy, and he won it by a whole 5-man GRC ward. That's it's a sort of victory that the PAP would have wanted in their elections by that much. And he qualified for the Olympic Games, broke the SEA Games record and all that. And I knew it was such a special swim.
Right.
From a special swimmer. It
Right.
wasn't his pet event. I mean, he won it in the 100 fly at the end of the day at the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
But I remember after that, because his father, Colin, was staying with me in the hotel, I knocked on his room door, just opposite me, and we had a drink downstairs, and I told him, I said, your son's going to win an Olympic medal one day. I didn't say gold. And then he says, why? And as I started talking about his stroke rate and the fact that his body's not developed, but his ability to have these number of stroke cycles at this point and those nimble ankles and all that kind of stuff. He says, okay, I need to hear more. And we spoke until about 6,
Right.
on that.
Right.
And now, in retrospect, of course, you look at it, but still, that was, everything came out of my mouth that day, in describing that race. I just thought it was such a special, even more special than the Olympic win.
Nice, brilliant.
And that's the reason why as well, that Joe race was the reason why as well, after that, from 2012 onwards, I signed up for every age group swim meet. I wanted to see the young swimmers. Even with Fox Sports as well, I always asked to be the first down there and sign up for the under 16s, under 19s, under 23s, because it's so exciting to see what the future holds.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. That's a good seg really into the next part. Commentary on other sports, right? Now, do you have to have? I'm just talking purely based on the research part, right?
Mhm.
How do you do this? Like, from one sport to another, because you need to know every detail, and knowing you as well, right? How do you not get crazier?
Okay. So what I've learned over the years is that there's some sports which I don't know about. I
Right.
won't do because I'm at the end of the day I'm not doing any justice to the athlete or the sport. So I won't do, and I'll put my hand up and say I don't know about this. I'm always the first to say I don't know.
Okay.
All right. But the things that I do know, so in swimming, when I first started it in like 2005, I said, okay, I just wanted to get better at it. I took on certificates. I went on courses and all that kind of stuff, referees courses, so that I know the strokes a lot more.
Okay.
I know, yeah. So
Just for commentary or just
just for commentary. Yeah,
okay?
but it's helped me over the years.
Yeah, of
So
course,
in,
of course.
in football as well, right? I'll get my license. It's a C license, it's a normal license, but I just wanted to know how a manager feels and the kind of drills that they go through and all that kind of stuff, because I need to know that it's not an easy job. And but these things have helped over the years, because when you're doing something like when I went for the old Lagardère, they wanted a commentator for Barcelona TV during that time,
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. And I got chosen because ahead of the next commentator, I had a coaching license. So you kind of
okay.
he should know what he's talking about,
Okay.
And with swimming, same thing as well. The
Right.
association FINA says, yeah, he knows what he's talking about because he's been through
It
the
helps,
courses
it helps,
and all that.
yes.
Yeah, it helps. But I think that's where, like what he said, at the end of the day, when you first started, jack of all trades and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the master of none. I did not want to be that, and I just, because of that, right, I took the ones that I really wanted to focus on very, very seriously, and I just went even deeper into it, rather
Right.
than just being a commentator.
Right.
Yeah.
It's again, like I said, people, listeners listening to this as well, it's the work that you do.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of work you do, but I mean, it's fun at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's like whenever.
But of course, you got to love it, right?
Oh,
That helps, obviously.
Exactly. I mean, I love it. It's like, at the end of a working day, I always look forward to seeing you in the
Yeah,
studio,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like, hey, we got
yeah.
this match. This should be exciting.
Yeah.
We're already talking
Yeah.
even before
Yeah.
it starts. So
Yeah.
when the first thing when you say, and I throw it to you and all that,
Yeah.
there's a chemistry going on there
Right.
already. And that's what I love about it. It's because at the end of the day, if you think about it, we're almost getting paid for watching something that
true.
we love.
True.
We absolutely love. How lucky we are.
Right.
Yeah.
The biggest stage, like the Olympics, right? What was the experience like?
It's fantastic when the country comes together. My favorite Olympics was 2012, London.
Okay.
I think that I've been in London before, and I've seen how miserable the people can be, especially during winter. They don't
Right.
talk to you, right? Even though you flash a smile at them.
Okay.
And at the Olympics, everyone was your friend. I used to not take the transport to the media center, but take the trains.
Okay.
I remember when they first won their first gold medal, and everyone at the train just stood up clapping and all that. I mean, those scenes, it's a sporting culture in that country, and you cannot replace that. Everybody was just hugging each other, and it's like they'll dance with you, they'll sing along with you, whatever country you're from. They want to know more about you. It's like it was the best games ever, the 2012 London Olympic Games.
Right. Just a short one before we go on to your next bit, right? Just a short chat on Joseph Schooling. I think you spoke a little bit about him just now. He's special.
Oh, I mean, that boy. The one thing that he has ahead of anybody else, I would feel, is the drive. He's got so much drive.
Okay.
And I think after winning the gold medal, you saw it slack off a little bit. And we should expect that.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's very unfair for us to, start pummeling in on him and saying that, oh, you're not, because you skip NS and blah, blah, blah. And look, he didn't ask for all that.
Yeah.
He just wanted to win for the country.
Yeah.
And did he do it? He did.
Yeah.
He won. He
Right.
won at the biggest stage. He won
Right.
our first ever. So if it all ends now, his career is not even over, but he's already our greatest athlete of all time. There's
Yeah.
no question
Yeah,
about it.
true.
Don't even put any other names there, because there's only one gold medalist. And he won in swimming. It's not as if like there's some sports where it's Asian centric, whether it's
Yeah,
a diving
true,
or
true,
something
true.
like that,
Yeah.
or shooting, table tennis, and all that kind of stuff. He won in swimming, where the world, right, it's so much harder, because you have the South Africans, you have the Americans, you have,
You had all of these, and you had Phelps.
yeah,
in the same
and-
race.
Yeah, you had
right?
Phelps.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had the greatest Olympian of all
Exactly.
time, right? And then you had, South Africa. You've had the bigger boys. You've trained with them all your life,
Yeah.
and you touched home first. And I think that it was just one mindset, that he knows how to just zone out from everything else and have that one mindset to take it all the way through. That boy is special,
I spoke to Mei Wei in my previous episode, and I was asking, will there be another Joseph Schooling, right? And she was talking about talent. Based on talent, there are,
Mhm.
but it is the support structure.
Yep.
Because who's going to be another like parents like Joseph Schooling, who've
Yeah.
done everything they can do to get him there, right? What's your take on this?
I do agree with her. There are people as talented as Joe, and Joe will tell you that as well.
Right.
But at the end of the day, even also outside of the parental support, because Colin and May have been fantastic, but outside of the parent support, there's one thing that they can't teach Joe, and it was just inborn. And I think that there are a lot of things that we can't teach our kids, which are inborn as well. Hunger and drive.
Yeah.
He just had it
All right.
He was this one in a million, right?
Right.
And everything that he's done in his life, the stars have aligned for him.
Okay.
He won in a race. We have to always remember he won in a race where it was a historical 3-person finish for silver. This never happened in Olympic history before.
Yeah.
He won in a race, as you said, with Michael Phelps there.
Yeah.
So everybody will remember that race for that 3-person finish. And who was on top of that? It's a Singaporean, it's Joe. So stars have always aligned for him, but he worked it. He worked
Of
for it,
course.
you know, and he had that hunger. I don't think that we can teach hunger, desire. We can't teach that.
Right. Tell us about your 2015 SEA Games in Singapore. I think you were the creative director then.
That was fun.
Right. And
Yeah.
you said this. I want to make the athletes feel special.
Mhm.
I want to introduce them like rock stars. I saw the clips. I did. And obviously, I did see them then.
Yeah.
Then I watched it again.
Mhm.
Right. They were really introduced like rock stars. So you know the one where the stage or whatever you call it
Oh,
spins
the
and then-
revolving doors for
yes,
the swimmers.
yes.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Talk us through what you wanted to do exactly.
Well, I mean, it was just that I wanted to elevate the entertainment factor, and I wanted, you know, by the time the athletes walked out, I wanted the crowd to actually just be roaring the athletes on, you know,
Yeah.
whatever country they're from, but especially Singapore. So I would watch concerts. I would, you know, watch like, you know, stuff from all around the world and all that kind of stuff, and I was just looking at it, especially for the swimming one, what hasn't been done yet in
Okay.
the world, okay?
Right.
And then I realized, okay, let's go through this. And I spoke to one of the companies and say, you know, I want to have this one where you just unveil it slowly and turn it around. Very dramatic. And
Yeah,
I said, okay,
yeah.
let's try to do it. And we just had prototype after prototype until we finally found the right one, you know.
Right.
So it was, I think that it was a real great mental stimulation for me, because creatively, right, you
Yeah.
had to think of different things. You had to think of different ways of lighting it up, you know.
Right.
And I thought that the team came together. The athletes were really happy with it. I remember the fencing thing that the International Federation was like saying, you know, who did this, because we want them
Class.
for our Olympics or the World
Yeah, yeah.
Championships, because it looked like the fences are fencing in a club.
Yeah.
It didn't look like it was a sporting venue at all.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that for me it was creatively. I would always look at these athletes, put their faces in front of me. No, so of course it was Joe and Kwa Ting Wen for swimming, and then Charmaine and
Yeah.
Premila for netball. It's like, how am I going to introduce them? So with netball, it suddenly became okay. I can shine the light from the top and then put it down when they're standing there. Then after that, halfway through, it's like that might not be enough. Why don't I put their positions in front? So I had the words like
okay.
GK
Yes,
right in
yes.
front of them.
Nice.
Like see
Nice. Light
Yeah.
it up as
yeah,
well.
lit up on the floor. And then with basketball, same thing, same venue, right?
Yeah.
So C, PG, and it was like very fun because
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
and Nazif, who's now the proud
Yeah.
owner of your Silverfox
Yeah, yeah.
mask, he was one of it as well
Nice.
at the Sepak Takraw venue, and he had a lot of fun in it as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Great, great. And I'm sure it has been copied after that happened.
Yeah, maybe it has, but I mean, it's like whoever copies you and all that kind of stuff, I always take it as such a compliment.
Yeah, of
so.
course. if I was an athlete back then, I would feel like a rock star, right? Coming in like that, it was wow.
Yeah.
A little bit of pressure as well.
Yeah,
With
yeah,
that
it was-
kind of
that was-
pressure.
yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
if you're an athlete, you gotta take that pressure.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest compliment was when the Kwa siblings, Zheng Wen and Ting Wen, saw me at Kallang Wave Mall after that, right? And he says, "Oh my God, what you did, it's not just our favorite song, but when it came out, we just wanted to just run there, we just wanted to snatch goal, it was
Nice.
so proud and all that kind of stuff."
Great.
Yeah.
Great, great. You did some work with the YOG side as well. 5 years before that, in 2010. What was that about?
I was actually just taking some youth presenters
Mm.
and training them up. All right,
Okay.
And they're all on voluntary basis,
Okay.
and then getting some youth performance as well to welcome
Right.
the athletes and all that. It wasn't as extensive as the SEA Games because we didn't use the video boards, and I learned some mistakes from the Youth Olympic Games for the SEA Games too.
Okay.
So I mean, but I mean, it was fun training the presenters up, especially those that really wanted it, those that had drive. There were some successes coming out of it, the likes of Kelly Latimer.
That was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, the
first
first one.
very
Yeah,
first, yeah.
that's right. So
Was Divian in there as well?
no, Divian wasn't in there.
Okay.
Yeah, Divian was a DJ at that time. Already,
Okay.
I think
Okay.
Kelly was in there. Kimberly, who's now on air on 987, she was in there as well. So
okay.
it was, I think it was like,
Nice.
it was pretty fun, and you could tell already who wanted it more.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that'll come and ask you questions and pick your brain again and again.
Yeah. Your 30-week syllabus.
It was developed long ago, and it's a syllabus that's derived from all the mistakes I made in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can be used still.
Oh yeah, it can be used still. The one that I just gave that lesson to in the oral class, same thing as well. Except now I can't use my hands to help release her tongue muscles and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I think that a lot of it was also things that you put in your head, put in your heart, images that you have and all that kind of stuff. It's actually through my own life experiences.
Right.
But it's actually teaching them how to find a connection.
How many pages?
No, it's not a lot of pages. It's 30. No, I mean, it's like about 60 pages.
Right.
But it's more like, because I think a lot of them always have the problem with the connection. So what's the connection like? And basically, I just keep telling them that the simple thing is that, you look at something, you take a picture in your head, and then you describe the picture. The next person listens to it and takes a picture in his head. And if that picture comes out the same as the one that you saw, that's a connection. That's as simple as that. So you need to describe the thing.
You say it so simply, but seriously, I think listeners would want to know as well, or they know it is a tough thing. Presenting is different from being in a studio where you get asked questions like being a pundit. I always love to be a pundit because it's easier, right? You're just watching and talking about the game that's happened. For
But how
example.
many people can talk about the game? You need to have played it. You need to have managed it.
Yeah, of course. But presenting, like just speaking into a camera, now that's a different ballgame. It's different. You need a little bit of, I don't know.
I mean, it's like I find it easier than speaking in front of people. I think that
really?
the camera is a non-living thing. Right? It's not gonna bash you. Whereas like real people might actually take a gun or say, shut up, But I think that. I've always been a bit more comfortable with that in front of. But over the years, even I've started, shredding that already. I don't really. I'd rather just get up and do a commentary than actually, because it used to be the SEA Games, right? It's like commentary's over. Okay, your hair is flat. So of course it's flat. The headphone's been on my head all the time. So move, push. Okay, all right. Okay, now stand in front down there. Okay, we're coming on. Commercial's finishing in about 30 seconds. All right, you got everything. It's like, you need auto cue? No, I don't need. Okay, you know what we're talking about? Yeah. Okay, we know. Okay, boom, and then next thing you're on.
True.
I mean, it's like I don't really, enjoy that as much as I used to. The commentary just gets me up a lot more.
Okay. Now, theatre and acting.
Okay, it's something that I delved into for a while.
For a while.
Yeah, it was just a while. I mean, it's like I know people like make fun of me about like shows like 999 and all that kind of stuff.
I remember
right?
the 999. Yeah, I used to catch that a lot, man. Like,
I mean, I had a lot of fun. I made some very good friends. Until today, Yu Bing and I are like such close brothers. We're very close friends.
You weren't close in the show.
Oh yeah, of course. But we had a lot of fun not being close.
Yeah.
Only because we could be so close outside of it that we could actually, push the boundaries and say, if I say this to you, I'm just acting. Or, when we're having a punch up, let's really punch at each other, knowing that we're going to take care of one another. Okay. All right. So I think that's very important in terms of developing a chemistry. I would say that, I had some really good theatre shows as well. I worked with some really good playwrights like Haresh Sharma. I think it's still the best playwright Singapore has produced until today. Alfian Saad. There's so many. Then, of course, my wife. I think that she's such an amazing director. My favorite play, Bent, which she directed, right, was until today the best play that I've done, because the cast and crew, we were talking about homosexuals during the Nazi period. Okay. All right. But the cast and crew outside of it, we were having so much fun ribbing each other off, and then when we went there, we just switched it on just into the characters. We really thought we were living in 1940 something. That was that was how much fun we had, only because the chemistry was on, and we just gave everything into the character because we felt that story needed to be told. And so it's your own belief of how the story needs to be told. I think that one, more than anything else, was my most memorable.
And you won Best Actor as well.
That was for the Art Nation. It wasn't the Live Theatre Awards. I lost the Live Theatre Awards, but the Art Nation one, I think Dr. KK Seed actually said, you deserve that one for what you put into, right?
Which do you prefer, in a TV series or like a theatre kind of?
I always prefer the theatre.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like TV series. it's not in your hands because it's in the editor's hands. You might give your best performance, but if the camera doesn't catch you, or the editor doesn't catch you, or the editor decides to throw it away, it's gone.
Okay.
But in the theater, people are in front of you, you can't lie, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
so I prefer that. There's an adrenaline rush to it as well. Something like a commentary before the opening night. You're like going.
There's a little bit more pressure.
There's a lot more pressure. There's a lot more pressure. Yeah. And then I don't like doing monologues. I prefer a team kind of thing.
Okay.
So you're there to catch the person in case he forgets his lines or movement or something like that. Right. And when you do the same, they do the same for you. So yeah, I like that. I just love the team effort on anything.
Well, that's amazing, right? Like trying to cover up for one another.
Exactly.
I can't imagine.
I think you can tell already that I prefer team efforts. I mean, it's like that's what happens when you grow up playing football and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
You still acting?
No.
Why not?
Not at all. Gave up on it. I think that my last one was in 2017 or 2016. Yeah, that's right. I did a lot of the flies. There's a lot of rehearsals that go on behind it. I'd rather spend time with my son, my wife, and also, I mean, I'm quite out of it already. I'm quite out of it. So I would say now that with whatever new techniques that they use and all that kind of stuff, I probably would not know anything about it, and I might not be able to give my 100% self in it. And every time I'm not able to give 100% of myself in it, that's where it doesn't go very well.
Okay, fair enough. Tell us about your current role now as team lead at SportSg. What do you do exactly?
So I am in charge of Team Singapore. So it's all the carded athletes of Singapore. We're supposed to take charge of their marketing collateral and build campaigns up for them leading up to major games like the SEA Games, Olympics, and all that kind of stuff. Outside of it as well, it's a whole athlete life situation. So it's not just looking at the Team Singapore athletes and what they can do with the community and how we can even highlight their achievements or failures and turn it into journeys. Also, there's the SPECS education. SPECS is short for Sports Excellence. So SPECS education, as it says, it's actually a fledgling athlete. That's a younger one coming up, and then they might need some advice. What's the next career path? Time management skill set, of which we have a couple of great colleagues down there to give advice and even profiling on what this athlete is. Is it a more male egotistical kind of athlete, or do you have someone who just listens to instructions, and then we give those information to the coaches, and then we talk to the parents to advise on career path. If you go into a polytechnic, it might be better than going into a JC, and then we have partners in polytechnics and universities to help these athletes get scholarships and all that kind of stuff. And then there's also the SPECS business, which is after the life of an athlete. Then SPECS business, we try to place the athletes once their careers are over, talk to them and say, what do you want to do next, all right? Which field do you want to go into? And then try to upskill them and get them prepared for the working world outside so that it doesn't look too scary, because I can imagine how scary it is. You played sports, imagine you've been a gymnast all your whole life, and then all of a sudden you step outside and you're wondering, how are people looking at me? How are people seeing what I'm seeing, and I'm seeing things differently. But for us is to actually tell them, hey, your resilience of coming back from an injury, your resilience of coming back from defeat actually would do well in a company. And that's how we sell it to the company, to say, when big bad stuff hits the fan, this guy's not going to leave you, because this guy will stay, And a lot of companies actually do take on board some of these athletes.
This is something we all wished had happened way back, right? And even when I was playing, or the other players that were playing, even presently, we talk about football specifically, right? We wish we had that, right?
That uncertainty, right?
Yes, and especially when you quit, right? It's so tough for some people. It's so tough to do something else, because they played all their life, they've been running all their life, and then suddenly you stop running, and then what happens, right? Next, and in a way, I was a little bit lucky, because while playing, I was already taking my coaching licenses, so it's a little bit easier in terms of the transitioning part. But you're talking about all this, I think it is a great job that you guys are doing.
I think that a lot of it also is personality based. So, for example, like Shasi, you have a personality where you're continuously learning. All right, that's why when you're a player, you became a coach. And I look at the stuff that you're doing now, whether it's podcasting and even your notes, you're on an iPad and all that kind of stuff. It's because you're trying to get yourself up to speed, And that's your own personal drive, but not a lot of athletes have that drive outside of their sport. So that's the one that we need to, So for you, if you're an athlete coming up to us, I'll be telling you, You don't need my help, you know. You're self-sufficient. You're great by yourself. Yeah. So I think that a lot of times it's different people, different personalities that we need to take care of.
Right, right. The community projects that you have been with and you have driven, and I think I spoke to UK Sham as well.
All
He
right.
was in one of the episodes earlier
Excellent,
on, and he
excellent.
was doing the
Laptop.
laptop giveaway, right? So you were part of this as well,
Oh yeah.
right? Tell us more about all the community projects that you.
I think that it was very important for me when I first stepped into Team Singapore of the athletes. Actually, you know, I think that a lot of people do not have big views of athletes in Singapore. In a country like Singapore, sometimes we look at it like that's your hobby, you know.
Yeah.
But for an athlete to be able to inspire, that's where you start being essential, you know, in this day and age. So how can you be essential? It's not just about you winning gold medals.
Yeah.
You need to redefine the word champion. Champion doesn't mean that you won a race or world championships. Champion means I champion something. What do you champion? And I ask the athletes this all the time. Just when you look at the Singapore flag, what do you see? Do you see 5 stars and a crescent, or do you see 6 million people on the flag? If you see 6 million people on the flag, give me a call. And those who actually see 6 million, give me a call. And when I say, hey, the children in need, well, this and that, they need some mentorship, they need friendship.
Yeah.
They're first on board, you know.
Nice.
We went through the laptop drive, of course. Sham came up to me and said, you know, we got this and that. I said, sure. And you know what? Put my name on it as a call for the athletes so they know that someone's supporting this drive, right? And then it just grew bigger and bigger, and we collected a lot, and we had a lot of support, more athletes coming in. And then we had the circuit breaker buddies as well. That was where a lot of these kids who were living in like 8 to a 1-room flat and all that kind of, they needed athletes to come in to their lives to befriend them.
Right.
So we brought in different athletes from Shayna Ng to Han Bin, even Sham was one of them as well. Durich was another one, and basically these athletes came in. The first thing the kids asked them was, how long are you going to stay here for? Which shows you that people have left them their whole lives. Their counselors gave up on them.
Yeah.
So, you know, the athletes started behind the 8 ball. It was very difficult, but they kept at it, and they became friends with the kids. And from there, the last I heard, 90% of them had increase in attendance and increase in motivation in school, and that's all you can ask for. That's all you need, because they just needed someone to talk to.
True.
Right? So I think that it's important for these athletes in their standing in society that you are more than just an athlete. You're actually someone who will wrap yourself around if there's danger, if there's trouble, like when circuit breaker first hit.
Yeah.
A lot of them could have just sat down, moaned, done like just workout videos, you know, but some of them actually went out and said, I'll do more, all right, because the society means something to me. Jen Go, our golfer, is someone that probably is very inspiring. She started her own initiative.
Okay.
She came up to me and said, there are these kids, you know, the disadvantaged kids who don't have things that we have, which is basically simple drawing kits, paper, color pencils and all. I'm going to put all of them, and every month I'm going to put different things and go to and cycle to them and all that kind of stuff, and then distribute to these kids.
Nice.
And it started with her own money, and then from there, because I was so inspired by it, I brought in partners, I brought in backing so that she will have money to do it on a monthly basis. But that's how powerful these athletes can be. And these kids now profit from it, and they know stories of sports, they know stories about the science center and all that kind of stuff, all because of Jen Go. Has she won a gold medal? No. She's won nothing in terms of golf. But to me, she probably is right up there with a Joe Schooling.
She's already a champion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. You know, it's like you said, you got to champion something, right? Champion a cause, and it's more important to be a human being.
Yeah,
first,
absolutely.
First,
Absolutely.
and then go and get your medals, because at the end of the day, after 5 years, that tangible medal doesn't mean a thing, right? It's amazing what you're doing, Mark. And you also you helped raise, right, with the young golfers, 33. That's just recently, right?
Yeah, recently. That was
33K.
Yeah, that's right.
For the community chess.
Yeah. I think that in terms of that, my son is in a young golfers community and all that kind of stuff. So I was looking at him and I was just saying, hey, how do we get him involved? Because we want him to know as well, that it's not easy, but it is also very important to think of others.
Right.
Do not always think of your sport and get so caught up in bogeys and birdies and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, let's get caught up in other people as well and what they need. So when it first started, we went about 203 was 20,300 was what we wanted, because 203 was James Liao's winning score at the last SEA Games. That was our first gold medal in 30 years. So we decided to put that number. And we told the young golfers, so pledge to run X number of kilometers for every money that's donated to you. And just go out. So they had these awareness cards and go out. And then after that, it was about 100 junior golfers in Singapore. And the whole golfing community came together. And $33,000 was raised within a 2-week period. And you had like someone like my son going to Ion Orchard as well, talking to strangers. And he only had one success. And he was like telling me it's an epic failure. I said, no, it's not epic failure, because that's how difficult it is, you know, to raise. And we're not... Our generation, right, Shasi, you and myself, we had those flag days and all that kind of stuff. And I would always get involved in taking these tins out, right? You know, give stickers on people as long as they give, even 20 cents or 30 cents and all that. We don't have as much of that anymore these days. And I think that for the young golfers, it's important for them to know that I am so lucky to have clubs. I'm so lucky to have parents who support, but some people don't. I need to know and remember that there are some people who don't. And if I ever become a national golfer, I need to remember those some people who don't, because I represent them as well. And when I win a gold medal, I need to remember them. And I think that's very important from a young age.
Nice. More than 33K over 2 weeks. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that's right.
That's class. Yeah. You spoke about your son just now, right? Just talk us through what's he doing now. How old is he, by the way?
He's 13 this year.
13?
Yeah, that's right.
So he plays golf?
He plays golf. I'm trying to get him to play other sports as well. So he's into basketball only because he's tall.
Okay,
That's all there is to it. You can see from the chat group, right? We have a new member, tall. He is Saul. He's tall. It's like, that's all. That's like no skill or nothing. He's tall.
Okay. He's Saul, by the way?
Yeah,
S-O-L?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So he I mean, I introduced him to a lot of sports when I was young, right? And my wife always said it was the biggest heartbreak that he totally didn't enjoy football. So I even sent him to Fundy's academy at... because he was so big as a boy, you know, at Fundy, he said, hey, bring him over, you know. So I said, yeah, sure, okay, I bring him over. And, you know, he wasn't interested at all. He was just standing by the sidelines and we were saying, no, hey, tackle the person. And he's like putting an imaginary gun out and trying to shoot that person down. He's like, no, don't shoot, you take the ball and all that kind of stuff. And when he scores a goal by some accident and all that kind of stuff, he's off celebrating and he's not back on the pitch. He's somewhere celebrating. So he was the rock and roll child. He just wanted to celebrate and not score the goal. And then we went into a lot of sports, and golf was the only one where he was like, okay, I'm actually a little bit more interested in it. And it took a long while. I mean, it's like it took a long while for him to actually become quite, you know, I won't say like brilliant or anything like that, but quite good at it.
Right.
But that was the one where he started showing a lot more interest and is starting to take a lot more decision of his, where he will decide on which coach he wants.
Nice.
Yeah, he'll decide on whether he wants to change his swing and all that kind of stuff, you know. And on the golf courses as well, he will, you know, decide on what shots to hit and all that. And so I say, okay, it's a sport of independence. And ever since he took up golf, he hasn't told me a lie, because the game is about real scores and all that, right? Yeah. So you know, he hasn't told me a lie. So even if he has, he was a very good actor. But you know, he hasn't told me a lie yet. And even then, when he tells me a lie after that, after about an hour later, it's actually, Daddy, I lied to you. It was actually this. I just was afraid to tell you this. That's all. You know. Yeah. So I think that the game, if any parent ever says that sport doesn't do anything for the kid,
nonsense.
Yeah. Sport does a lot. It gives your kid integrity, confidence. It gives your kid a lot of standing in ground on the basic levels of human nature, you know, of basically looking at the next party as competition and friend. You know, how do you do that? Only sport allows you to do that. You know?
Right. Hopefully he does love Liverpool like you.
No.
No?
He doesn't watch football.
Right.
He watches a Liverpool game only because he supports Daddy. It's not that he supports Liverpool. Yeah,
so
he supports Daddy.
So you must be very, very happy right now with the way things have gone for Liverpool.
Of course I am. I mean, it's like, you know, and I've been supporting them since, 1977, right? So you've seen the good times, the very good times, okay? And then you've seen, I won't say bad times, because, you know, you still had some wonderful years and all that kind of stuff. But look, at the end of it, even if you don't win anything, you'd have to say, and Shasi, I'm sure you agree with me, if I'm going to ask you, say, hey, do you want Arsenal to have Jurgen Klopp as a manager? What's your answer going to be?
Of course. Of course.
So, you know, we have something that every team would say, I want him. And it's like, you know, we have this guy down there. I just think he's so special, you know, so special. My wife accidentally got a chance to meet him as well. and
Right.
she took her dad to because her dad's a Manchester United
Okay.
fan, so took her dad to Old Trafford to watch, and it had just happened to be Liverpool playing,
Okay,
right? And I
okay.
couldn't go. And next thing you know, she sends me a photo of him. I was like, "Oh, what happened?" She says, "No, basically she went out shopping and then came back, and then after that there was this guy who couldn't press the lift, and he turned around. It was Jurgen Klopp.
Wow.
Yeah, and she helped him press the lift, and
what are the
Klopp
chances?
was like saying, no, you don't understand. Basically, I still need a car to get in my room, so I have to go
Ah.
back down." So she said, "Oh, okay, but while we're in the lift, can we take a picture?"
What are the chances?
Yeah, I know.
Brilliant.
And he's a real hero to her as well, because I think that he's one of those that transcends the sport, where you can see him becoming a leader outside of the sport too.
Yeah. And people speak about Salah and Mane and all these guys as their best signings. No, Klopp was your best signing.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you in that. You look at the way the team, the way that they're so difficult even to beat at home. You can't beat them at home because Klopp has got the whole city, not just the stadium, the whole city around the football club. You know how difficult that is. Even prime ministers are unable to do that. So I think that for me, it's like, even if they didn't win this year, just like last year, they didn't win the league and all that kind of stuff. Heartbreaking, yes, but Klopp stayed. That was a happy thing. I would be really sad the day when he decides to hang up and leave, because he's such a big part of the club, and I haven't felt this way of manager since Kenny Dalglish.
Kenny Dalglish, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Before we go, Mark, any advice for Singapore athletes, since you are the team lead, right? And any advice for them, especially those coming up, the younger ones especially?
Well, I don't think I'm probably the best person in the world to give advice, but if I were to give them an advice, I would say, back to what I was saying as well, that when you look at the Singapore flag, what do you see? I think it's so important that it's not just your family that you see there, but you represent, what you represent. It's very important. You represent a whole country. The whole country is behind you, backing you, even if they don't seem like it, but the flag is behind you. When you drape the flag around your shoulders, it's not just a piece of cloth. It's actually a national symbol that you carry with you. And I think that's very important. So when you come back, always remember that there are some people who wish they could be like you, and you need to save some time and spend some time with those people.
Nice. Well, you are definitely the right person for the next one. Advice for any budding presenters, commentators out there?
I think just enjoy yourself. Like what I said, I look at someone like you. You enjoy yourself, and circuit breaker hits. You're doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's very inspiring. When I look at it, and I was like saying, my God, when a job's taken away from you, instead of like sitting down and crying and moaning and saying, I got no more jobs you do this. So if you really do it, you'll find a way to do it. And when you find a way to do it, just make sure that you pour 100% into it, and always never ever think that you're going to be the star of it. You actually think that you are doing a service to someone. What does the person need from you? What do the athletes need from you? If you're able to think that way, you're going to go very, very far. And finally, don't be selfish with your position. There will be others who will come out one day and take your position. Do not get in the way. Always welcome all of them, and make sure that that community, right, that you're supporting them instead of like backstabbing them and all that. There've been so many cases of that. No, don't. They're not here to take your jobs. They're just new blood and all that kind of stuff, and they would probably appreciate some of your time as well, and give them your time.
Thank you so much for that. A quick one before you go. You want to say something about vintage radio? This could go out to people out there as well.
Yeah, we friends of mine got together and we decided to, when circuit breaker first hit, we just saw these old people like totally being like disheveled. They didn't have anything with them, and I felt so sorry for them, because it was not just my parents but everyone else as well. They didn't have a radio station to turn to, and radio for them was like Facebook of that generation, right? And they didn't have any company. They were lonely, absolutely lonely. No news was getting to them, and no music was getting to them, and music was such a powerful tool that we decided to sit down and form something just for them. And we said that it's a non-profit, but we will try our very best to serve them. And then from there it became an app, because we wanted to get them digitally enhanced.
Right.
So I was like talking to them and saying, can you imagine yourself as an old folk, right? You're so used to the 60s and 70s where it was really buzzing here, and you wake up to a circuit breaker and you're saying, what world am I in? imagine how horrible that feeling is.
Yeah.
We need to do something about it, and so that's how Vintage Radio came about. It took some time. It took about 4 months because we needed to find funding and all that kind of stuff. It was very difficult, but I am very proud to say that we probably can start somewhere in mid-September.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So and hopefully that it'll be beneficial for our seniors. But it's a love project, and we employ senior DJs and all that kind of stuff as well. So it is a love project for our seniors to give back, to say thank you. It's an app where you can also not just hear the radio but share photographs of old Singapore and all that kind of stuff. And I've always said one thing to a lot of the funders. I say, every time we tear down a building in Singapore, we're a modern society, so we need to tear down buildings. But every time we tear down a building in Singapore, we're not just tearing down the building, we're tearing down people's memories of that building.
Yes.
Now, we cannot erect the building again, but we can erect the memories.
Right.
So let's do this with this app and all that kind of stuff. And some of them are actually on board with it. So it's something that I'm actually very proud of, because I do want to see our seniors maybe in about 10 years' time to be some of the most digitally savvy seniors all around the world. And I hope that we can help them in some way.
Beautiful. Listeners, it's Vintage Radio. It's called Vintage Radio.
Yeah,
It'll be out mid-September, roughly.
Yeah, it's not on FM. It's on an app or a website. Yeah.
Well done. Thank you very much, Mark Richmond. You have been absolutely brilliant, inspiring as well, inspiring me, inspiring the listeners, I'm sure, right, with the work that you've done.
Thank you, Shasi.
And I got to say, you are a master of all the trades. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much. I will see you soon, hopefully when...
Shasi, the Asian Champions League will start soon.
Hopefully not a boring match. Thank you so much, Mark.
All right, thanks.